I've been walking for a few... It's alive! Hello everybody, welcome to my little corner of the internet, and welcome to the second episode of this hiking series, this new hiking series. I'm filming this on the same day that I filmed the first one, so I haven't really thought of a name for it yet, but I just cooled down from the first one. I have something pretty cool planned for our second spot, so without further ado, let's get going. Alright, I apologize for the vertical camera, but we're almost there. For this trail, I took a little trip to my childhood hometown. This is the town that I grew up, and I just pulled into the rec department. And the rec department is significant in my life for a lot of reasons. So in my last video that I shot a couple hours ago, I talked about many things, but one of the things that I talked about was about how God can use anything for our good. And there's something here that's a very powerful illustration of that. Plus, I also have a lot of personal history here, so that's going to be really cool to revisit. Alright, just got out of the car and I'm about to show you the first thing about this park that really brings me back. Here it is. This might look like just any old soccer field, but this is the soccer field that I played soccer on as a child. So I wasn't really much of a sports player. I didn't really watch a whole lot of sports growing up, and I still don't really watch sports. But when I was in primary school, I played soccer for a couple of years, and this is the field that we played on. I remember we used to do drills over there before the games, and then we would have multiple teams at once. So you see how like there's a field there, and then there's another field there, and then there's a bigger field there. So yeah, there would be multiple games going on at once, and even though I wasn't really much of a sports player, I do enjoy looking back on those memories. The second piece of significance that this place has is that building right there. So again, when I was a young kid, I used to be in Boy Scouts. And that's the building where we would have our head meetings. I was in Boy Scouts for maybe 2 years. It just wasn't my thing, but again, I do have a lot of really fond memories of meeting in that place and a lot of camping trips that we took and cool things that we did. One of them is here. One of the coolest memories that I have from Cub Scouts is just up ahead. We're at the final place, but before I show you that, I just want to show you one of my favorite lakes ever. So look at this. I love this lake so much. It's a very, very beautiful spot. Right across from the lake lies one of my coolest memories from Boy Scouts. And that memory was this trail. So, this might look like just any ordinary trail, but this trail wasn't always there. In fact, when I was in Boy Scouts, they were still building it, and in my last year of Boy Scouts, we actually got to open the trail. We were at the grand opening, and we got to cut the trail, and we opened this trail. That's one of the coolest memories I have of Boy Scouts, and what I didn't know at the time, when I was opening this trail, was that many, many, many years later, this trail would have an even bigger significance in my life. So without further ado, let's hit the trail. So yeah, I still remember cutting the ribbon and walking through this trail for the first time. It was absolutely incredible. And the thing is that it was in the fall, it was in October, and later that night, we set up a haunted hiking trail for Halloween. Now, I know that everyone has their own opinions of Halloweens, and I certainly have my own opinions, and I'll talk about those in another video, but this video is about this trail. We'll talk about Halloween some other time. I've been walking for a few... It's alive! I've been walking for a few minutes now, and I have just spotted our first landmark. There it is. It's just an old, run-down wooden bridge that probably isn't that structurally sound anymore, but here it is. This is the first notable, well, I guess the second notable landmark. I guess the first notable landmark was the entrance. So this is the second landmark of this trail. So I remember this bridge on the haunted Halloween trail. On the haunted Halloween hike that we did at night, they actually had people dress up as skeletons underneath this bridge, and as we passed, they would jump out and spook us and grab our legs. It was actually kind of frightening as a kid, but just seeing that bridge brings back a lot of memories. I've come across another bridge. It looks a little more structurally sound, but I'm still a little nervous about walking on it. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's all good. We're getting close to our final landmark, but I do have to say, everything I said about the last trail is true about this trail. It is so beautiful out here, and I love it so much. This is why I love hiking. It just makes me so immersed in the beauty of God's creation. And there's a sense of peace that comes with it too. That'll be a topic for another hiking video. It's hard to describe, but it just does something to me, you know, and it does something to a lot of people. A lot of famous writers have based their careers about the feeling that you get when you're in nature. It's just something that you have to go outside and experience every once in a while. Okay, I found the final landmark. So, this might look like just any ordinary wooden bridge, but this bridge is very special. So, this bridge is important to me because this bridge is a symbol of how God can work all things for your good. So, I know that might sound weird, but this is the bridge that my first girlfriend and I became a couple on. So one chilly day in January, we met up at the park. We were best friends at the time, and this bridge is where we spent most of our time that day. You know, we just sat here for a few hours and just talked with each other. We knew that we liked each other a while before then, but this is when we became official. We had our very first kiss on this bridge. It was my first kiss ever. And what would follow would be a relationship that spanned over 2 years. Now, over those 2 years, there were some very high ups and there were some very low downs. But one thing that we were both absolutely certain on is that we were going to marry each other one day. We talked about that often, and if you would have asked us, we would have said, we are definitely going to marry each other. We're soulmates, we're definitely going to marry each other. But, as you could probably tell, things didn't work out, and we both decided mutually that this wasn't working out and that we should break up. Now, just because it was mutual doesn't mean that it didn't hurt, because this was my first ever heartbreak. During the aftermath of that breakup, while I was still healing, I couldn't really see why God would have allowed this to happen. You probably know how heartbreaks go. They can almost take you out. It's hard to describe what the first heartbreak feels like, but it's something that most of us all share in common. We all know what it feels like, and I was fortunate enough for this to be my only heartbreak. But while I was healing, I couldn't understand why this was happening. I couldn't see a purpose in the pain. But little did I know, I was having a Rascal Flatts God Bless the Broken Road moment, and I didn't even know it. A couple years after I broke up with my first girlfriend, I met my wife, Renee. And then suddenly, it all made sense. I had to go through this pain in order to get through her. God used my first relationship to teach me about what it means to be a good partner, and God used the heartbreak of us splitting up to lead me to my wife. And it was so worth it in the end. At the time when I was going through the breakup, I was going through so much pain, but meeting Renee made it worth it. This is an example of how God can use something that doesn't feel good, but still use it for our good. Because if it wasn't for the pain of the breakup, I never would have experienced the joys of being married to Renee. All of the amazing moments that I've had with Renee, all of the amazing experiences that we've had together and that we are planning on having later and that we're having right now, never would have happened if it wasn't for that breakup. So every time I read the verse, God works all things together for the better of those who love him. I think about how that's true in my own life. How God took some of the worst pain that I've ever experienced and used that to lead me into the greatest blessing that he's ever given me. And that's being married to my wife and all of the amazing things that my wife and I have done together. God really did bless the broken road because it led me straight to my wife. And that's just an example of how God uses everything for our good. He uses the good things for our good, and he also uses the things that don't feel good for our good. And I think that that's just another reason why he is worthy of our praise, of our love, of our lives even. We don't always understand what God's doing in the moment, and sometimes we may never understand, but that's okay. We're not called to understand everything. We're called to trust and to have faith even when we don't understand. I didn't understand what God was doing during the breakup, but I do now. And I'm very grateful that God moved in the way that he did. The Bible says that he's trustworthy. His character proves that he is trustworthy, and it plays out countless times in our lives. So this is just a reminder that if you're going through something right now and you don't understand what the purpose is, just hold on a little bit longer because God is doing something. You just don't know it yet. Even if we don't know what it is yet, we can rest assured that he is trustworthy, he is good, and he has the ability and the power to work everything for our good. While I was filming, a little slug made its way onto my tripod. Here, let's get you off of this tripod and onto a nice plant. There we go. Here you go, little buddy. Enjoy the wildlife. Honestly, that's just another reason why I love going on hikes. You get to see different types of wildlife that you don't get to see very often. This is about all I have for today's episode. I'm almost back to my car. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like. And if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share, please leave them down in the comment section below. I want this channel to be a place where we can talk with each other and interact together and grow closer to God together. So if you have any thoughts, please leave them down in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video and that you have a great day. I'll see you next time.